I'm out here early because it's supposed to be 104 degrees today. Yesterday was 102, so it's going to be pretty toasty again, and tomorrow's supposed to be triple digits too. As you can see, the garden is doing very well. Some of the stuff back by the fence is almost as tall as the fence. And the corn is about as tall as the fence too. Here's the greenstock planter. Last week's video went a little long, so I might have to split this one into two videos. I'll know by the end of the video, so stick around and I'll let you know. The greenstock planter is doing pretty well. We've got beets up the top here, and we've got 6 different kinds of beans on the second row, and then we got peppers on the third row, beans on the fourth row, and more peppers on the fifth row. In this straw bale we have 3 tomatoes, 2 geranium kiss, 1 on each end. They're just now starting to sit on well at the bottom, and there's a crazy number of blooms towards the top. This one on this end has an insane number of blooms. And it's got some tomatoes down at the bottom too. I think you can see some of them down there. And the Shimo furry just has a whole lot of tomatoes. It's a very productive little plant. The China Jade cucumber is about as tall as the cage now. And it has some cucumbers down towards the bottom that are starting to form. Let's see if I can find one. Well, there's a small one there, but there's a couple that are a little larger than that will be ready to pick pretty soon. There's a sun gold tomato. It's got a couple down towards the bottom that are getting a little bit of color on it. I don't know if you can see those or not. Let's get quite a few that are already set on. And there's our guard cat back by the fence, making sure the squirrels and birds and rodents don't get too much. These Seychelles pole beans have climbed to the top of the cage and beyond. And we're getting quite a few blooms on this one, so we'll be getting some small beans soon. Speaking of beans, we harvested some bush beans yesterday. And continuing on the bean theme, here's our long beans, and they're also up to the top of the cage already. And they're starting to form blooms, and we'll be producing some beans before we know it. There's the bush beans. Got 5 different grow bags, 10-gallon grow bags with 5 different bush beans I'm trying out just to see how they do. And we've got, even though we picked beans yesterday, we've still got some that we missed right here. Those are the red swans. Here Mrs. Midwest Gardener is picking some of the bush beans. I'm growing 5 different types of bush beans this year and comparing them side by side. And so far only 3 of the 5 have produced beans, so that's good information right there. Here's a look at some of the red swan beans on the plant before they got picked. Here's a look at the 3 types of beans that we picked. The red ones are called red swan. They look pretty good, but they're not quite as long as the green ones. And those green ones are called Kalima. I really like the fact that they're long and pretty straight. The yellow ones are a French variety, and I can't pronounce the name of those, so I'll put it up on the screen. About the time the bush beans stop producing, the pole beans will probably start. We've got 2 rows of carrots. I planted those pretty far apart so we'd have a longer harvest instead of having all of them at once. I've been thinning the carrots, and here are some of the thinnings. And these are delicious both in a salad or eaten fresh. The Bundaberg Rumball tomatoes did very well for us last year, and it looks like they're going to do pretty well for us again this year. Rosella Purple is my favorite dwarf as far as taste goes, and it's already got quite a few tomatoes down at the bottom of the plant, and it's setting a few on a little higher also. The Baroni is also one of my favorite dwarf tomatoes. It's got some up towards the top and some down towards the bottom, so it's doing pretty well. Tasmanian chocolate's been very productive for me in the past, and it looks like it's going to be very productive for me this year. This can give you an idea of why I grow more dwarfs instead of indeterminate varieties. We have an indeterminate tomato here, and it's already well over 4.5 feet tall. It's a Belgian giant, and it's already got some tomatoes at the bottom, and hopefully it'll keep setting on. We don't know. Well, looks like we got a smaller one up here, so that's a good sign. There's our second Bundaberg round ball. I'm not going to get over there and show you all the tomatoes on it, but they're kind of behind all the leaves. There's some down at the bottom you can see there. The next it is a Purple Rain. It's doing very well. It's got quite a few tomatoes that have already set on. And then next to that Purple Rain is another Purple Rain. It's got some really nice tomatoes on it already. This is a Sleeping Lady tomato plant, and I planted it because last time I grew it, it was very productive. It looks like it's going to do well again this year. Last year we had over 20 days that were over 100 degrees. It was a terrible year for tomatoes here. So this year I'm kind of overcompensating by having more tomato plants. There's another one of those suckers that I started. I need to pick the blooms off of it. And then there's a Purple Rain that I started in the month of June. Then in hopes of having good later tomatoes, I've got a couple of Purple Rain growing in grow bags. Here's a Shimo Furry in the hollow log. It's got tons of tomatoes on it for such a small little plant. And we have one that's starting to get ripe. That will be our first tomato, I think. I've got a couple more late tomatoes over here. That's a Velvet Night. And that's a Velvet Night. As you can see, they're much smaller than the rest of the tomatoes. Hopefully they'll do well in late August, early September, or the month of September and into October. And next to those we have more tomatoes. In this pot we got another Geranium Kiss. Got tons of blooms on it, just starting to set on, this one is. Then we have that, they say it's a micro, but I'm not sure about that. This is a dark striped micro with the crazy blooms on it. It's got some tomatoes. It's probably got, I don't know, 300 blooms just on this one plant at least, if you count all the little buds that haven't opened. Let me see if I can give you a close-up of what those buds look like. By the time I shot video of the entire garden, it went pretty long, so I will separate this video into two parts. This is part 1, and I'll post part 2 tomorrow morning. I also want to take this time to say thank you for watching. I really appreciate all the people who watch on a regular basis and also leave comments and like as well. If you're just now finding this channel, please subscribe. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.